So this is part four. It's looking like I'm making great timing, so we're just gonna run through the thing. Anyway, ugh, we're gonna run through this. Anyway, so part four, where do we go astray? I am going through the different sections of my big, political essay about how we stop Trump and we get to the point where we don't have to worry about the next Trump. The battle is going to be ongoing. People think society changes in this great leaps and bounds. It's my opinion that I'm censoring myself. People today act the same way people of ancient times acted. Yes, we have new information. Yes, we have new whatever. But the old people always say, the kids are doing it wrong, or this new technology is going to ruin the youth. Back in my day, blah, 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 whatever. We're not, as humans, special or unique in how we act. We're especially unique in the information that we have, the technology we have access to. And like, hopefully in the future, kids have better access to technology and stuff like that. Uh, Super tangent. We haven't even got started. I am one of those people who thinks about the Roman Empire way too many times a day. My son's name is Octavian. It's Roman inspired. Anyway, one of the things that I like about Roman history, and I don't know, as I'm writing and saying things out loud, when I was young, I was told that I was wise because I learned from other people's mistakes. A lot of the things that fascinate me in history are because I want to know how we as a species messed up so bad that we have all this leftover pain from stuff. I'm going to keep it strictly to Rome. Rome was a, sorry for lack of better words. What? Anyway, Rome was seen as the center of political life in the Western world at some point in time. People were living life in a way that you had people that were philosophers in a time where stuff wasn't necessarily being written down as easily and printed as things are now. Maybe it was because Rome was a mecca and you could come there and hear these people talking, or people who learned from them talking and saying these things. But like, to have people living as philosophers, and then a century later you have warring factions and what we call the dark ages because we were once enlightened. Like, this technology, this stuff we have, it's not permanent. It's not always going to improve. The way things go, we reach a point where we stop innovating and we end up back somewhere. And politically, the US is headed back somewhere. But like, super tangent. I haven't even started reading. Anyway, I am. This is part four. We're doing Where Do We Go Astray? Maybe I'll cut that out. I don't know how to cut stuff, so it's probably not getting cut out. Anyway, where did we go astray? America has a two-party system. Generally, politics has been a shade of one or another. The modern day pendulum has been swinging my entire life. Bill Clinton was president at my birth, and I saw the swing from Bush to Obama to Trump to Biden to Trump. The face of MAGA may be Donald Trump, but the body has always been part of this country. Growing up in the South, I saw Confederate flags waving beside American flags. I saw Confederate generals prominently displayed in church windows and on pedestals high above we the people. I understand those who see these symbols as a link to their heritage. The issue is that the Confederate flag may have been the most successful flag to fight against our red, white, and blue. As a young boy growing up on Fort Bragg, I always wondered why people who claim to love freedom would hold on to a flag that flew opposite to those ideals. That helped me realize that those people did not feel adequately represented by the red, white, and blue. Having that background, I feel like I always had an understanding of the promise that MAGA sold. To believe America needs to be great again, you must believe it was once great and is no longer great. What has changed so much since Ronald Reagan's initial Make America Great campaign that Americans were drawn to Trump's promises? While there are political scholars who are paid to do this, I'm writing at a time when I'm trying to raise two boys, work a corp. I'm trying to raise two boys and work a corporate job. I say that to say my essays aren't backed by science or data. This is purely anecdotal, but I believe it's predictive of what's happening, and I believe the underlying progress of civil rights and the progress of non-white men felt like it was coming at a cost for those who benefited from that era in America's history. The nail in the coffin was a well-educated black man assuming the mantle of POTUS, President of the United States, a man who was charismatic, intelligent, and also compassionate. These were the things that I assumed white men growing up watching Westerns or Walker's Texas Ranger thought couldn't resemble a leader or a strong man. Compassionate, caring, what? Soft. They realized that this country was moving on from them and recognizing that leadership didn't come from white skin or having an XY chromosome. The leaders in this country were changing, and that meant the red, white, and blue no longer represented people who believed this, and the country was their birthright to lead. I believe this is where Donald Trump provided a lifeline to a past era, an icon of television who is the embodiment of the modern cowboy in a business suit. The issue is that Donald Trump clearly wants power. He's willing to take any deal or fold on any position in order to get more power. The Republican Party appeared to be on the ropes after Trump's coalition reset the table of American politics after his elections in 2008 and 2012. Trump took over the party soon after, but when a man has no principles, he is bound to be manipulated by outside forces that flatter him and promise him more power. I don't believe Trump is a malevolent leader. He is a malevolent leader. Um, ugh. I don't think his intentions are necessarily evil. I think his intentions are power. I believe the people in his ear have bad intentions and are happy to use Trump as a shield because he is vain enough to put his name on a building or a stake and not care about the quality. Trump Trump has now used this momentum to usher in the most authoritarian government in modern American history, one in which he believes that the only limit to his power is his own morality. As I start this paragraph, Donald Trump is contemplating using the Insurrection Act to deploy the U.S. military into a U.S. city. This is an act that crosses so many lines and means a point of no return for American life. The horrible impact of that decision will mean the loss of life by Americans for simply existing in the chaos that this administration has created. This is something that needs to be stopped today, but also how do we make sure the executive branch cannot ever lead us down this path again? In the next essay, I intend to talk about how to fix this moving forward from the perspective of a Midwestern dad. Trump is testing and overwhelming the checks and balances laid out in the Constitution. We don't know if it will hold. Whether it does or doesn't, there will be a day post-Trump, and we must look for political leaders who will strengthen those checks and restore the balance of power. My tangent was on the front end of this video, so I will see you in the next video.